Very good that this event is taking place. Very good that we are, that you are here, that we are here to actively engage in a discussion between Brussels and Romania. It is, let's say, geographically quite far apart, and it is good to see that we are actively trying to cross that bridge and make that distance shorter. And that can only happen if we have good discussions. I think there are a lot of things to discuss. There are lots of things going on. So let me just outline shortly what is at stake from our point of view. First of all, of course, we have the discussions on 2030. We issued our communication on the 22nd of January of this year with the proposal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030. Now that is now up to the heads of state, to the governments to decide, and the aim is to have that discussion and that agreement by October of this year. This will be very important for the whole of the EU as a confirmation of our commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also as a signal in terms of investment security, clarity on the framework of what the EU's ambitions are and how we want to transform our energy system. This is not an easy thing to do, and we have lots of discussions already now when we're talking about the 2020 discussions, and we're talking about integration of the renewables in the energy system. And for that I can also point to the communication that we issued last year where we talked about framing government interventions. Because of course what we see everywhere with the ambitious plans to transform the energy system is that this requires a great deal of investments, and not only in renewables, but then also in backup capacity, but in buildings when we want to reach energy efficiency targets, etc., etc. And these things need to be brought together closely, and we need to make sure that all of this happens in an internal energy market and not into fragmented national or even regional or local markets where the aim is to be autarkic, for example. That would be a serious mistake. We need to always work on the basis of the added value that the integration of our energy systems brings, and not try to think that we need to solve the issues on our own. So we have that. We have the 2020 targets, where, for example, the renewable targets are national, but as we said in November, we think that these should become more and more European. If we are going to transform the energy system on the long term, and renewables are going to be an ever bigger share in the energy mix, then we also need to make sure that that becomes part of the European market. One of the things we are saying, for example, that in our gas security of supply policy, where every member state has to provide for transparency on its energy system, on its energy storages, where every member state has to make an emergency preparedness and an emergency response plan, for which I would also really like to invite Romania to submit that as soon as possible, that those national plans also need to be looked at in a cross-border way, because we need to see and compare how the different national plans add up and how we can combine them to become stronger regionally. Central and Southeast Europe are one of the core areas that we are focusing on now in analyzing the energy security already for the upcoming winter. And I therefore also would like to invite you to get involved in that discussion, because Romania, compared to some of its neighbors, is relatively well off in terms of gas supply in particular, and it can play a very important role in that region in enhancing market integration, in establishing a market that is bigger than just one country, and that has access to diversified sources of gas. I think we've seen some, from our point of view, very good steps being taken, for example, regarding the phase-out of the regulated prices, because of course not many parties are going to be interested in supplying a market with gas if the gas has to then be sold at regulated prices under the cost price for those companies. So market integration and enhancement of security of supply also starts with creating an open market where parties are interested to come in and supply gas from different sources. So maybe to close off with a short word on what happened here yesterday evening or this night. We had another trilateral discussion with Commissioner Oettinger and the two ministers, Minister Prodan and Minister Novak, about the keeping, let's say, continuing the supply of gas. The key issues are the price and the debt. That's nothing new, but for the moment we have not reached any outcome, and normally we will continue the discussions tonight at 9 or tomorrow morning at 9. So because we have at the same time the Russians who are saying if we are not receiving our money, then we're going to switch to prepayment, and then we only deliver the gas that is being paid for. And that is something we want to avoid. Ukraine wants to avoid. I also think the Russians want to avoid it, because the signals they gave is that even if the deadline is today for those prepayments, that they will not put that into effect, because they want to allow for further discussions. Of course, all of these parties, including the EU, has a lot to gain in coming to an agreement between Russia and Ukraine that provides stability for gas supply to the EU. And I think it is a realization of all three parties that even if the current political situation is, let's say, far from how we would like it, or these countries would like it, when it comes to gas supply from Russia to the EU, for still quite some time to come, Russia, Ukraine and EU are interdependent and need to have a dialogue to be able to solve the issues and make sure that gas supply is secure.